ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, welcome to our topic today, the philosophy of Prasadam. I think most of you here are practicing Krishna consciousness to some level, quite seriously. Today's class, generally speaking, is not for beginners. Everyone's welcome to be here though. Because you're following spiritual life, I think we can say safely that you accepted Srila Prabhupada as Acharya, as an authority. So what he says, we follow generally in his books and teachings. So today's presentation will be mostly quotes of Srila Prabhupada. There's many things I can say, but better let him say. There are many quotes which I'm going to read, and it's going to be very direct. Srila Prabhupada speaks very categorically, directly about points, because spiritual life is it says that shurasya dharaya nishita duratyaya. Spiritual life is like walking on a razor's edge. You have to be very careful, you have to be very fixed. So for that we need gyan, information. What are the practices, how should we practice, what we should do. So these Thursday sessions are not beginner, they're going to be much more direct quotes of Prabhupada. So we are discussing about philosophy of Prasadam. A very big part of Vaishnava culture, devotee culture, is Prasad, honoring food, remnants of Krishna. There's a whole culture of serving the Prasad, how we serve it, where you put the items on what part of the plate, not this little steel plate, it's supposed to be a banana leaf, many items. Vaishnavas from South India, North India, East, everywhere, they have elaborate culture of Prasadam. Prasadam is very intrinsic for spiritual advancement, as we're going to see. But before coming to Bhakti, all of us had different principles and practices, and gradually as we came to Bhakti, we are realizing, okay, I have to take up this or that, and maybe everyone's at a different level. They may not take up fully or immediately, but it's good to know what are the principles. There's a verse in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a text written by Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis. You know him, some of you. So his knowledge came from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him in science of bhakti, of Krishna, and he wrote elaborately a lot. Okay, so there's one particular verse that comes in Hari Bhakti Vilas, which gives the 6 principles of surrender, Sharanagati. Here's the verse. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptritve varanam tatha atmanikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagati. So there are 6 points. One who is fully surrendered, or who is aspiring to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee has to accept everything that is favorable for rendering of transcendental loving service. He must reject unfavorable things to the Lord's service. A devotee must be firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. No one else can actually give one protection. Being firmly convinced of this is called faith. Because we may say, my protection will come from my bank account. I have USD account and INR, so I'm safe. So no, the idea should be, Krishna is our protector. Rakshishyatiti vishvaso. Okay, then the devotee should accept Krishna as the supreme maintainer and master. So we may think, I'm being maintained, someone may think, a woman may think, I'm being maintained by my husband. Or a man may think, I'm being maintained by my boss. I'm being maintained by this or that. But actually, Krishna is the maintainer. So that's a part of that verse. That point. And self-surrender means remembering that one's activities and desires are not independent. Atma nikshepa karpanne. A devotee is completely dependent on Krishna and he acts and thinks as Krishna desires. And lastly, devotee is meek and humble. So, when one is coming to the shelter of Krishna, these are the 6 things we have to consider. I want to specifically look at the first 2. Anukulyasya sankalpa. Devotee has to accept everything that is favorable for rendering of transcending loving service. We may not like some things or be used to it, but then we realize this is good for bhakti, so let me take it. Or we may be practicing some things and realize this is not good for bhakti, let me stop it or give it up. Okay, so with that mood, we are continuing here regarding prasadam. Okay. So before we came to Krishna consciousness, we were all having different culinary habits. We used to eat in different ways. Now in this planet today, there are different ways, different names of different diets people follow. Can you name some of them? There are some very complicated ones.
Carnivorous, vegan.
Okay, let's say carnivorous, vegan. Okay, what's that?
Keto diet.
Okay, that keto, that protein. Yeah. Okay, then you have something called macrobiotic. They have some raw food and seasonal things, and okay. Then you have raw food diet. They'll not eat anything cooked. They'll soak rice and dal 30 days and eat after. Okay. Then you have lacto-vegetarian, vegetarian having milk products. Ovo-vegetarian, they'll have eggs and it'll be vegetarian. So in this way, everyone was following different eating habits when we came, before coming to ISKCON. Okay. Who can tell me what food? What do devotees take?
Sattvic.
Okay, sattvic. Any other opinion? Vegetarian. Okay. Okay. Now I heard sattvic. Many people said. Sattvic means food. So do devotees take sattvic food? Do we take food which is in sattva guna? No. Prabhupada says no. We don't do that. Why? We are not vegetarians. Prabhupada says we are not vegetarians. Okay. Here, let's look. Prabhupada says we are not vegetarians, neither non-vegetarian. We eat Krishna prasad. Rather, we are prasadarian. We are neither vegetarian nor non-vegetarian because we don't eat which is not offered to Krishna. Things are prepared according to the order of Krishna. When Krishna eats, we take the remnants. Therefore, we do not fall in category or group of vegetarian or non-vegetarian. We are transcendental. Okay, now let's try to understand this principle here. People who take sattvic and vegetarian food but do not offer it according to, I'll show you some verses, this is wrong, it is sinful, even if they're vegetarian. Okay? Now we're going to come to some very heavy quotes here. And as I said, everyone is at different level of practice, but you can understand it as the ideal position, all of Prabhupada's words. Okay, now regarding are we vegetarian or not, another verse, another quote. Prabhupada says, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, one living entity subsists on the life of other living entities. There's a verse, Jivasya Jivo Jivanam. Either vegetarian or non-vegetarian. But we are neither of them. We are not vegetarian nor non-vegetarian. We are transcendental. We are concerned with Krishna Prasadam. We don't promote vegetarianism per se. And I'll show you some other quotes why Prabhupada says that. Okay, this is a letter to Raya Rama. One more quote on prasadarian. So in the material world, either a man is vegetarian or non-vegetarian. Their eating simply sin. They will have to suffer the consequence. But so far as we are concerned, we are eating remnants of foodstuff which was offered to Krishna. So we are not afraid of anything. If Krishna wants vegetable foodstuff, we supply him vegetable foodstuffs. If he wants non-vegetarian foodstuff, we can offer him. But he does not want it, as it is explicitly stated in Bhagavad Gita. So we are concerned with Krishna Prasad, not vegetarian or non-vegetarian. There are many vegetarian animals. Monkeys are vegetarian, pigeons are vegetarian. So to become vegetarian is not very good credit, but to become Krishna conscious is the most important business of life. See, you understand the concept here. Prabhupada is saying, if you say I'm vegetarian, do you know Hitler was a vegetarian? You don't know. Okay? And monkeys are vegetarian, pigeon, it's good to be vegetarian, but we are concerned with, we have to eat what was offered to Krishna. Prasad. We don't generally promote vegetarianism, we promote the fact that food has to be offered to God. But then he says, I want vegetarian offerings. But after it's offered, it's not food, it's prasad, it's not bhoga. Okay? Okay, so now let's look at philosophy of prasad. Okay, there's a verse here. We look at that just now. Just to mention that, you see, Krishna has given preliminary instructions, guidance and philosophy for devotees. Okay, for his devotees, Bhagavad Gita is the starting book. By reading Bhagavad Gita, one comes on level of being a devotee. And it's meant for devotees. Further instruction is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, expanded, deeper. Okay, devotees of Krishna eat prasadam, food offered in yajna. Bhagavad Gita says, this verse, that devotees eat prasadam. The principle of how food affects us is given in Vedas and Upanishads, and Prabhupada's quotes are there. Okay, let's look at this. Yajna shishta santo muchyante sarvakil bishai bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachanti atma karana. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So here in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, known as Karma Yoga, here Krishna is saying that devotees who offer the food, yajna means we are doing some activity for Vishnu. So here we are offering the food. It destroys the sins, our past sinful reactions. But if people eat food after cooking without offering, it increases our sins. Because it is, we'll see other reasons ahead, but there are different reasons. One is that it says in Gita, yo bhuktas tena eva saha, that we are thieves because we took what belongs to Krishna. We took Krishna's food, items, and so that is a thief we'll take. But we have to take and ask and offer to him. So Bhagavad Gita says, yo bhuktes tena eva saha, that one who enjoys without offering is a thief. Okay, so one who cooks the food without offering, it's sinful because of this reason. But rather the devotees who offer it, they become freed from all sins. Okay. So, philosophy of prasadam. Now we are looking at, you see, philosophy of prasadam. It means this concept of prasadam. What is that concept? Why are we doing, how did this come about, this idea that you have to offer food? You know, animals are just eating. And I see food, I eat an apple, I have to start offering. What is the point? So here now it says in this Chandogya Upanishad, Anamma sitam tridha vidhiyate tasya yastha vishto dhatus tat purisham bhavati yo madhyamastan mamsam. Sorry, I don't have my glasses. Nishtha stan manaha. Food taken has three parts. It says, asitam tridha vidhyate. The three parts of food that we eat. This is in Chandogya Upanishad. The thickest part, you see that we eat to benefit the body. But there's some part of food we cannot benefit. It just has to be thrown out of the body. So it comes out as stool. Okay, body cannot use it. Then there's a more subtle medium part. That it becomes part of the flesh and we use it to regenerate the body, and okay. Then there's the more subtle part that becomes part of the mind. This is in Chandogya Upanishad. What does this tell us? It means whatever we eat impacts our mind. They're saying, very common, which especially before coming to ISKCON, some 4 years before, I became a vegetarian. I was not before. So that time this saying was very common. You are what you eat. Means you eat. The vegetarians use this a lot, especially in the West. And what you eat, that you become. Violent, peaceful, whatever. So we can take this on a whole other level. Really, what you are, what you eat, in the sense that what I eat, some part of that becomes part of my mind. If I'm eating again and again from people who are sinful, they're cooking, I'm eating, then I'll become sinful. Maybe not this life, but I've accumulated all the karma. I may not have killed any cow, but he's cooking, killing cows, and he just made some rice for me, but I ate it, so I have to share that karma. This karma has to come. So this is the philosophy, okay? Now let's look at a quote from Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada is quoting again Chandogya Upanishad, but in a purport of chapter 3. By performance of yajna, all activities become purified, as it is stated in the Vedas. Ahara shuddho sattva shuddhi, sattva shuddha dhruva smriti, smriti lambhe sarva granthi nam vipramoksha. By performance of yajna, you understand yajna. Yajna means doing any activity for Vishnu, either homa or chanting japa or chanting Hare Krishna. This is all yajna. But here they mean yajna for offering the food, means offering bhoga. So by performance of yajna, one's eatables become sanctified. It's not food anymore, it's not matter, it becomes spirit. By eating sanctified food, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in memory become sanctified. When memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society. What is this telling us? If we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and subtle philosophical topics, we have to see what we are eating. Because finally, when we have to contemplate spiritual subjects, we need to have a spiritualized intelligence. Otherwise we cannot do that. If you want to think about spirit, the senses have to be spirit. For that we have to eat spiritual food. There are connections in the brain that are made on a higher spiritual level that will help us to understand Shastra. This is one reason why in Kali Yuga Shruti is not allowed to be studied. Rig Veda, Sama, Yajur, it's not allowed. Because mass of people don't have that intelligence. They'll misunderstand, twist it and take out something else. Which is what happened now. So many bogus people claiming to be religionists have sidetracked people. So this is philosophy of Prasadam. That the food we eat affects the intelligence. Prabhupada is saying, to understand Gita, Bhagavatam, to understand philosophy, we have to be eating Prasadam. Okay, now let's look at how Prasadam is prepared and how it acts on us. Okay, now again, as I'm saying, that I see a lot of you are even wearing this mala because you're serious about practicing, so, and you're chanting, okay, so this is information how to come to higher levels. Preparing prasadam from bhoga. Who knows, in these terms, when we say bhog, what does it mean? If I say prasadam, if I say, is this prasadam or bhog? What is the meaning?
Bhog is not eating.
No, yeah, correct. Bhog means that which is, bhog means like to enjoy, isn't it? So bhog means that which is prepared for Krishna to enjoy but not yet offered. And then when it's offered, it becomes prasad. Therefore, in the kitchen sometimes someone may ask, is it bhog or prasad? If it's bhog, it's kept separately. Prasad, kept separately. Okay. So now let's look at this quote. Prabhupada is saying in a letter, regarding prasadam, Krishna does not accept any foodstuff offered by a person who is not a devotee. If someone's not a devotee, he cannot offer. I mean, he can offer, but Krishna won't accept. Because it's not that Krishna wants rice and food and he's hungry, but he wants that love. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. So the importance is stressed on bhakti, the devotion. Krishna does not accept anything unless one is a pure devotee of Krishna. How to become pure devotee of Krishna? You have to chant Hare Krishna. Follow the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. And you have to follow a guru who is expert in the science of devotional service. Some people may say, I'm a devotee of Krishna, I love Krishna, my name is Vasudev, at home we have a picture of Krishna, but they are not following any principles. They are not following. In this regard, Prabhupada gave a story. He said that a man came home and he's asked his wife, so where is the dinner? Then she said that I love you so much. He said, okay, that's good. Where's the dinner? I love you, I cannot live without you. Okay, that's fine. But where is the dinner? I'm hungry. I love you so much. When you're not here, I'm thinking of you. Okay, that's fine, but I'm hungry. I want to eat. So Prabhupada said, love is service-oriented. You understand? Really, if we say, I love Krishna, so we'll follow him. What are we following? 4 regulative principles, chanting Hare Krishna, and reading Shastra, taking prasad. When we follow the principle, Krishna categorizes, this is my devotee. Then we offer bhog, Krishna accepts. So Krishna will only accept from a devotee. Okay, now someone may say, because we're looking at again philosophy of prasada, how prasad is made from the bhog. Okay, now Krishna eats and leaves everything. Now all of you, when we say we offer this food, we offer to Krishna, and then in front of you all the food is there. What did Krishna eat? You may be thinking. We offered the food and still everything came back. How is this? Prabhupada is explaining. The atheists cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in the form of a deity, can eat all the food offered by his devotees. He eats everything offered by his devotees. However, by the touch of the transcendental hand, all the remnants, all the food remains as before. It is the quality that changed. Krishna ate and he manifested it again. Before the food was offered, it was something else, but after it's offered, the food acquires a transcendental quality because the Lord is Purna. He remains the same even after eating. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam eva vashishyate, Ishopanishad invocation. The food offered to Krishna is qualitatively as good as Krishna, just as Krishna is always indestructible. The food eaten by Krishna, being identical with him, remains as before. Okay, so Krishna ate and he left it. That is his potency. I cannot do that. If I eat it. Nor should we think that it is necessary for Krishna to eat. He does not become hungry like an ordinary human. Nonetheless, he presents himself as being hungry, and as such, he can eat everything and anything regardless of the quantity. The philosophy underlying Krishna's eating is understandable by our transcendental senses. As one becomes a devotee, perceives, understands Krishna, he'll understand this whole concept of offering. When our senses are purified by constantly being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, we can understand Krishna's activities, names, forms, pastimes, etc. And a verse is there. Okay, Krishna eats and leaves everything. What is the meaning of prasadam in Sanskrit? Actually, what is prasad? Mercy. Prasad means mercy. Why is it called that mercy? Prabhupada explains many times, but I didn't, too many quotes will come. Can someone say, who's reading books, why Prabhupada saying that what we're eating is called prasad? It's in that Sharira Vidyajal, that prayer, it comes there. Yeah, Aditya.
Is there the remnants of what we ate and they gave us the opportunity to purify ourselves by taking?
Yeah. So that is there that Krishna is giving us. You see, we, conditioned souls, we want to eat good food, we want to enjoy. So Krishna says, okay. But if he says, you become a devotee, don't enjoy, don't eat, then it will be very difficult. So out of mercy, one is that he's giving food so you can eat the food and be purified simply by eating. This is mercy. That means even a dog or cat can eat and get purified. What to speak of any human? Just by eating we get pure. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is, we like to enjoy good food. So, okay, cook good food offered to me, I leave, and then you eat, and then it's purifying. So these are different reasons why Krishna is You say that it's called prasadam. Okay, now devotees honor prasadam. Prabhupada is saying about devotees that one has to take prasad. But preparing nice simple vegetable offerings, offering them before the picture of the deity of Krishna and bowing down, praying for him to accept as such a humble offering, can enable one to advance steadily in life, to purify body and to create fine brain tissue which will lead to clear thinking. This is repeat of a previous section. By taking prasad, we get higher subtle intelligence to understand topics. Otherwise, it happened many times, we go book distribution, we're discussing philosophy, I don't understand what you're saying. One person I remember, it was years ago, I was distributing books in Bangalore, and I started explaining Bhagavad Gita. He said, don't worry, I'm from IIT, I'll understand it. I understand this, okay, and I'll contact you. Okay, then he never contacted me again, which means he didn't understand. It doesn't depend on material intelligence, it depends on spiritual intelligence. Taking prasad gives that. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food since he already possesses everything. He will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparing and serving an offering is to act with love for Krishna. Okay. Now we're going to look at quotes here. The quotes are going to tell us how devotees are meant to take prasad. Prabhupada gives instructions. Vaishnavas, followers of Krishna, followers of ISKCON, my followers are meant to take prasad. Prabhupada says a human being should eat prasad offered to the deity. Now people ask, should human being be vegetarian? Should human being be non-vegetarian? Then there's something omnivorous, both? No. Prabhupada says human beings should eat prasad offered to the deity. Okay, other principles here? Should enjoy sex life according to Vedic injunctions, not without a regulation. He should engage himself in the business of Krishna consciousness. He should save himself from the fearful condition of material existence. He should sleep only to recover from fatigue due to working hard. Three things which this material body we get pleasure out of: sleep, eating and sex. If they are not regulated, they'll pull us down to animal birth, next birth. But here it's explained how one should regulate it. Okay, continue with quotes where Prabhupada said devotees should take prasad, and what's the result? Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, eating the remnants of sumptuous food offered to the Supreme Lord, and hearing the enchanting pastimes of the personality of Godhead, one merges into an ocean of bliss called Krishna consciousness. So what is the proof of this? The proof is there are many people, if you don't look at us, like let's look at people who are working, having families and living, but not doing a lot of things other people do. Still they're living happily. It means they're in an ocean of bliss. They don't need other things. Okay, another effects of prasad: become austere, simple. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, eating the remnants of sumptuous food offered to the Supreme Lord, and hearing enchanting pastimes of the Lord. I mixed up this. By accepting remnants of food offered to the Lord, prasadam, one gradually purifies the heart, automatically becomes simple and austere. Just by taking prasad. Simplicity, saralta, what does that mean? That means he's very direct in his dealings. Doesn't have duplicitous dealings. Doesn't have two faces, he'll say one thing, think another thing. Normally that nature is exhibited by someone who has a lot of material desires that he wants to fulfill, so he has to not reveal them. But saralta, simplicity, comes when one is spiritually advanced. They're very simple. So by taking prasad regularly, one becomes simple and austere. Austere means I'm easily happy in a very difficult, materially difficult circumstance. I don't need so many things to make me. Okay. Effects of prasad. Now this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He tells, after he took prasad, because before he was a jnani, he was an impersonalist. He was not a devotee. Then Mahaprabhu preached to him, he became a devotee, and he took Jagannath Prasad. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, my dear Bhattacharya, today you have been released from the material bondage in the bodily conception of life. You have cut to pieces the shackles of illusory energy. Today your mind has become fit to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Because surpassing the Vedic regulative principles, you have eaten the remnants of food offered to the Lord. Powerful effects of taking prasad. Now this is the effect of one person taking prasad. Srila Prabhupada had a vision gradually to distribute prasad far and wide all over the country, all over the world. What will be the effect if everyone takes prasad? Prabhupada wrote this in a purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, don't today there'll be a lot of quotes I'm reading, but these are direct words of Prabhupada, so they're very potent. The Krishna consciousness movement vigorously approves this practice of preparing food, offering it to the deity, and distributing it to the general population. This activity should be extended universally to stop sinful eating habits, as well as other behavior befitting only demons. A demonic civilization will never bring peace within the world. Since eating is the first necessity in human society, those engaged in solving the problems of preparing and engaged in solving the problems of preparing and distributing food should take lessons from Madhavendra Puri and execute the Anukut ceremony. When the people take to eating only prasadam offered to the deity, all the demons will be turned into Vaishnavas. When the people are Krishna conscious, naturally the government will also be Krishna conscious. A Krishna conscious man is always very liberal, well-wish of everyone. When such men head the government, the people will certainly be sinless. They will no longer be disturbing demons. It is then and then only that a peaceful condition can prevail in society. Prabhupada has given a blueprint that the Krishna conscious movement should spread. Of course, chanting should spread, but before that, prasadam will spread easily. So if people take prasad regularly, this is the effect. This is on a national level or international level. But what about individual, family level? Culture of honoring prasad. Now when we are honoring prasad, there's a whole culture associated. It's a very big part of Vaishnava culture. You see, nowadays people take food, how you sit down, eat, watch TV on the phone at the same time, like this and that. And also now, this being a preaching center, we're not following exactly. But if you go to temples like ISKCON Salem, there's a great etiquette. For example, which order food comes first? First comes water, then Mahaprasad, then Charanamrit, then salt, then pickle, then wet sabji, then puri or chapati, then rice, then dry sabji, then, there's a whole, in Karnataka also they have 18 items on each part of the leaf. In Bengal also, in Tamil Nadu. So there's a whole culture where to put which item, how, and it's very scientific. Like in Bengal, the sukta comes first, which is supposed to awaken appetite. It's bitter. Okay, so culture. It is the practice of Vaishnavas while taking prasadam to chant holy name of Lord Hari at intervals, and also sing various songs such as Sharir Avidya Jal. I was in Raghavendra Mutt in Bangalore once. I took prasad there, the Madhva Brahmanas, and they were chanting bhajans while eating, devotional bhajans. That is one. And before eating they will chant. We also chant. If you go to Vrindavan, in the middle of there's a big feast. In the middle of the feast, they'll start singing some bhajan. Everyone will join in. So, why do they do that? To remind themselves that we are having prasad. It's spiritual. It's going to purify us. Otherwise, we get into enjoying mentality and eat, and then the effect won't be as powerful. Those who are honoring prasadam, accepting remnants of the food offered to the deity, must always remember that prasadam is not ordinary food, it is transcendental. Therefore, we are reminded, and this is a verse from Mahabharata, Mahaprasade Govinde, Nama Brahmani Vaishnave, Svalpa Punya Vatam Rajan, Vishwasaneva Jayate. Those who are not pious cannot understand the value of Mahaprasadam or the holy name of the Lord. Both prasadam and the Lord's holy name are on the Brahman platform, spiritual platform. One should never consider prasadam to be like ordinary hotel cooking. So it is spiritual. How to get liberation in the Krishna conscious Hare Krishna movement? The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the dancing in ecstasy and eating of the remnants of food offered to the Lord are very, very important. Okay, how many people are not dancing in ecstasy? In the kirtan, you have to dance in ecstasy, it's written. You have to chant and dance. Yeah, you do. Surya Kartik. One may be illiterate or incapable of understanding the philosophy, but if he partakes of these three items, he will certainly be liberated. You may not even understand Gita, Bhagavatam. But if you dance in kirtan, chant enthusiastically, take prasad, and chant Hare Krishna, you will be liberated. This is the potency of this movement. It can go anywhere and spread, even if people don't understand the language. Well, it has spread all over Africa, Europe. Simply by chanting, dancing and prasadam, we'll get liberation. Culture of honoring prasadam. There's a kind of rule that when a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received to pure devotees. Okay, what does this mean? If a devotee comes and offers you prasad, you should think, Krishna has come, he's giving me this prasad. Krishna wants to purify me, he's giving me this prasad. In this planet, how many jivas are existing? We are minority, human beings. You have mosquitoes, flies, corona, ants, butterflies. Humans are very less. Okay, how many are going to taste Krishna prasad in their life? It's something very great. So the etiquette is, if someone's approaching and giving you prasad, especially maybe from a temple or somewhere, you should take it to understand that Krishna is through this devotee wanting to purify and giving you this prasad. We should, and another thing, we should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called bhungte bhojayate chayana. These are cultural practices associated with prasadam. Okay, this is a cultural practice. Now, liberation. There's a verse, Sevan Mukha Hi Jiva Do. It's a popular verse, Prabhupada quotes. Bhakti begins with the tongue. So Prabhupada says, by the tongue we'll get liberation. What are the two things the tongue does? Speaking and eating. The process of understanding Krishna is Sevan Mukha, by rendering service. Sevan Mukha Hi Jiva Do. Realization of Vasudeva is possible by rendering service, beginning with the tongue. The tongue has two functions, vibrate and taste. So if one repeatedly hears and vibrates Hare Krishna and tastes prasad, food offered to Krishna, by the simple method one will realize God, Vasudeva, Krishna. Krishna will reveal himself. It's not that by our endeavor alone we can understand Krishna, but our endeavor in loving service will make us qualified. Then Krishna will reveal himself. So this is a great benediction, this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that simply by, this is not before, and it's not even every Kali Yuga. It's every 2000 Kali Yugas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Otherwise, to get liberation is a difficult thing, it's not easy. So Prabhupada says, liberation begins with the tongue. Another quote here, everyone in the Krishna conscious movement, take prasadam. Prabhupada is ordering those who are attached to the Krishna conscious movement and those who are attached to the service, they should take prasadam, Prabhupada says. First class prasadam. Everyone likes the taste of prasad. Now Prabhupada is speaking about himself. I used to go in my household life to take prasadam in the temples and pay them. I used to do that. I used to go, especially Sri Rampur. He was in Kolkata. There are two temples, one of Jagannath, one of Radha Vallabhji. So it was very nice. On Sunday I used to go to take prasadam. So you should be habituated to prasadam as far as possible. Unless you're very sick, you cannot take. That is different. Otherwise, you should take it. Prabhupada is ordering, Vaishnavas, take prasad. It will purify. Now regarding prasad distribution, there are some misconceptions that we go distribute, people are hungry, they are starving, let's take food to them. This is not the philosophy, Prabhupada says. It's not that we're giving to poor people, because this is not food, it's prasad. It liberates from cycle of birth and death. So you think rich people don't need to get liberation, everyone needs to get. Prabhupada writes, so far prasad distribution, it's not a question of rich or poor, that is karma kand. Our program therefore is that we offer prasad to everyone. Make our temple so nice that everyone who comes is offered some prasad. Not that way after poor men. It's nice that we are feeding 200 daily, but gradually try to increase. Do not advertise, we shall be self-advertising. Do not go to poor areas, that is not our philosophy. Our philosophy is prasad distribution without discrimination. If you say they are hungry, let's give them food. This is food, but this is not food, this is yajna. Even one grain of prasad will liberate you. It's enough. Effects of prasad. Another effect of prasad is it helps you to give up attachment to the body. Why are we suffering? The material body. Body is demanding, I cannot give it. This is suffering. This is material suffering. Material life means body wants, I cannot give. Body wants flat screen TV, I can't afford it, I'm suffering. Why don't I have it? He has it. No, I want this job, I don't have it. Demands of the body. An intelligent person should be satisfied with eating prasad, food offered to the Lord, or with performing 5 kinds of yajna, panchashuna. By such activities, one can give up attachment for the body and so-called proprietorship with reference to the body. When one is able to do this, he is firmly fixed in the position of Mahatma. Detachment is very difficult because we are so much attached to the body. When we take prasad regularly, we become detached because we become spiritual. So prasad is also part of this process of surrender. That first verse I showed you, surrendering. So part of surrendering to Krishna is being careful not to eat anything that has not been offered to him. That should be our determination. Even if we have committed some sin, by eating prasad, food offered to Krishna, we will counteract it. Whatever sins we do, by taking prasad is counteracted. But if you eat food not offered, you've taken more sins accumulated. Even though we didn't do it, but the person who cooked his sin, you took it. Then it will delay the perfection. If we surrender to Krishna in this way, he will protect us from sinful reaction. That is his promise. Promise, Krishna says, if you just take prasad, don't eat food not offered, so then I'll protect you, because that is a difficult thing you're doing for me. Krishna will protect you from the sinful reactions. This is in laws of nature. Now some very heavy quote, Prabhupada's quote. He says, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reactions of past material infections, which are impediments to the progress of self-realization. On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful reaction. This prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs, to suffer the resultant reactions of all sins. The idea is, if we eat so much food cooked by sinful people, we are taking the sin, it accumulates, then we lose the credit to take a human birth in the next body. If the cook is sinful, very sinful. If he's not so sinful, and maybe we'll take his sin, but not so bad. This is effect. And other effect, becoming more material attached. So where am I? Sorry, one second. Okay. So, before we look at this quote, I read many quotes where Prabhupada is saying, we should take prasad, we should take prasad. He's saying, okay, it's a big part of Vaishnava practice. So now, what about, I'm taking prasad, but I'm also taking non-prasad too, both. In hotels or trains, aeroplane. What is the effect? And because we said that devotees are prasadarians, can we take vegetarian food? What is the effect of that? Now these are the quotes we are reading. Okay. This is the effect of taking non-prasad items. In the 3rd chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from clutches of material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in complexities of material nature. When we do some karmic action, one bondage, karma bandhana, something is binding us to this material world. What is that? The karma phal. The reaction has to come of that karma. So we have to take birth again to take it. If I do another karmic action, another bond, and like that I bind. But when we take food, not offered to Krishna, that bondage is also much more. Okay, what does Shastra say? Prohibitions mentioned in Shastra. So Prabhupada says in teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is teachings to Rupa Goswami, he instructed him in Dashashvamedh Ghat. Where was Rupa Goswami instructed? Who knows? Of course, some of you are new, some are not. So he was instructed in Prayagraj. That place is still there. There's a place called Dashashvamedh Ghat near one temple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat there with Rupa Goswami and taught him about the deep aspects of bhakti with respect to rasa. If you understand, rasa means the feeling of bhakti. So then Rupa Goswami wrote many books. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed, these prohibitions are mentioned in authorized scriptures. One should not indulge in illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, or eating meat. Indeed, one should not eat anything other than Krishna Prasadam, food offered to Krishna. These are restrictions for one who is attempting to advance in devotional service. If one does not follow these principles strictly, there will be a severe disturbance in discharge of devotional service, which means we practice bhakti, but there is no taste, there is no desire to advance, or there is no will. Okay? Vaishnavas eat. What do Vaishnavas eat? Here there's a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas know what to eat, and by the personal example, they do not eat anything which is not offered first to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They eat only prasad, or remnants of food offered to the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his time, it's explained, he'll just enter Brahmana's house and eat. The tradition before was that they will all keep a shalagram and they'll offer everything. So that was, and the Vaishnavas also would do the same thing. So he'll follow that. Okay, now what about restaurants, hotels and planes? The words bhunte bhojayate indicate that one should eat with devotees. One should carefully avoid eating food offered by non-devotees. Indeed, a devotee should be very strict in not accepting food from a non-devotee, especially food prepared in restaurants, hotels, or on aeroplanes. What is the effect? Now, this is a particular verse that comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which Srila Prabhupada used to quote many times. It's not given in the Bengali. Vishair anakhaila malahaya man. Mana malahaya nahe Krishna rasmaran. One who eats food offered by a materialistic man, when one eats food offered by a materialistic man, one's mind becomes contaminated. When the mind is contaminated, one is unable to think of Krishna properly. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur suggests, Prabhupada writes in the purport, that those who are materialistically inclined and sahajas, or so-called Vaishnavas who take everything very casually, are both Vishayis or materialists. Okay, let me explain that when we say sahaja, these are people who are saying they're devotees, but they're not following any rules. They don't follow strict rules, what to eat, what not to eat. Okay, so if we take food from them, then it says, eating food offered by them causes contamination, as a result of which, such contamination, even a serious devotee becomes like a materialistic man. You may be practicing very seriously, spiritualized, everything, but the food I took is from someone who's not a devotee, who is absorbed in enjoying this world, enjoying this body. Then what will happen? All my spiritual consciousness will go. I'll take his consciousness. We shouldn't think, okay, I'm advanced, so I can take it. Okay, there are 6 kinds of association: giving charity, accepting food, offering food, talking confidentially, and inquiring confidentially. One should very carefully avoid associating with both the Sahajas, who are sometimes known as Vaishnavas, and the non-Vaishnavas or Avaishnavas. Their association changes the transcendental devotional service of Lord Krishna into sense gratification. When sense gratification enters the mind of a devotee, he is contaminated. The materialistic person who aspires after sense gratification cannot properly think of Krishna. Okay, this means that a person is a devotee, he is serving Krishna, okay, but a non-devotee, he is not thinking, he is thinking how I am going to enjoy. So if the devotee eats food of that person who cooked, he will also become like that. Then it's difficult to think of Krishna. Then to chant or read will be very hard. We can't. To read a small book will be difficult. Okay, so now it's everyone's duty, but Prabhupada writes here, particularly householders. To get release from sins, the householders are enjoined to perform certain sacrifices. Foremost of these is to eat and honor remnants of food offered to Lord Vishnu. As for those selfish householders who cook only for their own sensual pleasure and not for the service of Lord Vishnu, they have to suffer all sinful reactions incurred while cooking and eating. This is the law of providence. Therefore, to get rid of these sins, the followers of Vedic religion dedicate their household activities to Lord Vishnu, Vishnu service. So previously, now also many places, there were so many duties for householders. So many samskaras, vrats, utsavas, things that they have to follow. By following this, they advance and become purified. And by not following, then they become implicated in more sinful activities. Okay. Coming towards the end now. How to become a master of senses. From Journey of Self-Discovery. A person who is a servant of the senses is called Godas. This is a term in Sanskrit. You know, our senses are demanding. And if we listen, our senses want it, I'll give it. Then we are called Godas. Godas means servant of the senses. A person who is the master of his senses is called Goswami. That means senses are demanding, I'm not listening. I'm not going to give what you want. So that's called a Goswami. He controls his senses. When his tongue wants to eat something that is not offered to Krishna, he thinks, oh tongue, you cannot taste this thing. It's not Krishna Prasadam, food offered to Krishna. In this way, one becomes a Goswami, master of the senses. How to control the senses? Make a vow that I'll only take prasad. Only a Krishna conscious person can attain perfection. It is best that one eat only remnants of food offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. There are different yoga systems. But guna, rajagun, tamagun, they enter. Except a devotee who takes prasad, that guna is destroyed. So actual liberation can only come in bhakti. Now, this rule applies to everyone. But particularly Prabhupada says initiated devotees. Initiation means it's the beginning. Now you have to follow rules and regulations. What are the rules and regulations? Only 4 principles. Don't have any illicit sex life. Don't have any food besides prasadam or food stuff offered to Krishna. Particularly initiated, but everyone who is serious to advance. Okay, there's a principle here that I was saying before, that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, those who take the products of this earth and enjoy without offering to me, he is a thief. So Prabhupada paraphrases in a purport. Anyone who does not offer foodstuff to the personality of Godhead, he is a thief, Prabhupada saying. He is a thief. Yagna Shrishti Nashantam Muchate Sarva Kilbhishe. If you take food offered to the deity, then you get rid of all sinful activities. Okay, so these quotes are telling us about prasadam. Some of you are in a situation you cannot take prasad, but it should be a goal. If the role is to get deeper chanting and reading potency and to overcome these obstacles, at some point one has to take prasadam. Every ISKCON temple, we also here, we have a system where people can take prasada only. We offer that, but everyone's at a different level. Some may not take. But if one desires, we have that system here. We prepare 3 times. People can take it. Okay? But we can see that it's a big part of spiritual life. Gradually as you come, for example, you were told chanting is important, reading, so you're doing that. Okay, attending programs, but this is a whole other part. That by taking prasad, non-prasad items, it covers our consciousness. Okay, it covers our spiritual knowledge, and it leads to rebirth, because we accumulate a lot of karma of people who are cooking. There's some, this one boy here who was sitting, Puneet. Before the term started, he's in first year. So his mother phoned me here. This is ISKCON, yes. Can my son take prasad here 3 times? I said yes, because she's an initiated devotee. She said, I don't want him to eat anything outside, but he's studying in VIT. Another person I know who finished VIT now, he's in Bangalore. So his mother and father, who are initiated devotees, they shifted from Bangalore and got a house here. So I came to visit them. I told them, why did you shift? They said, because there was no one to provide prasadam to my son. So they shifted the city so that they could provide 3 times meals, so that he could take prasad. And now he took diksha, and now he's continuing in Bangalore with his father and mother and the family. So it's a big consideration, the philosophy of prasadam. Any questions? So some are maybe not on so much on that level, but generally on these Thursday evenings we'll talk these topics a little higher. Some of you who are a little new, don't be afraid, don't get shocked. Maybe you're at a different level, after some time you can follow. But those who are chanting, reading, we want to go further. This is an aspect to follow. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Okay, now we